Greetings to you and welcome to this episode of Grace Podcast. I'm Timothy Muse. I'll be your host as we spend this time together today. It's a joy to be with you. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for making this podcast a part of your journey. And I want to thank you for being on the journey. I want to thank you for investing in you, for growing and for looking at yourself and seeing the areas that you could add more to yourself. It is such a joy, such a power that you're here. I'm so thankful for that. So thank you for being here, and thank you for allowing me to come alongside you. Thank you for allowing me to offer whatever I can to help bring about growth and power and advancement for you. It is an honor to be able to do that. So thank you. Thank you for that. If this podcast is helpful, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. If you follow me or any of the, or me or the life coaching on any of the feeds, then you're going to find these. So share it out there. Tag me in it. I'd love to see where you're at. If you're on one of the listening platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music, then follow us. Give us a rating and review. Every positive rating and review tells the platform people are listening, and you'll get notification when a new episode comes out. And if you want to reach out to me directly, as always, GraceLifeCoaching.com is a website. I would love to hear from you. GraceLifeCoaching.com, it's got all of my information on it. If you want to do some coaching, you want to come alongside and ask some questions, whatever you need. GraceLifeCoaching.com, that's where you can get a hold of me. So we've been talking about showing up for yourself and the importance of showing up for yourself. I want to keep going on with that. I want to talk about something else today that's important. You know, we've talked about discipline. We've talked about doing the work even when you don't feel like it. So let's talk today about perfection. You know, perfectionism, the perfection view is something that can be so detrimental. It can be so devastating to people. It's not laziness. It's not lack of goals. Perfection is something that people struggle with. It can get people stuck. They're stuck because they're trying to do it perfectly. And in the process, they don't do it at all. So that's where I want to go today. I want to talk about perfectionism, and I want to talk about ways to break that pattern, because we don't show up for ourselves perfectly. We just wait to be perfect and we never show up. And the whole point is showing up. The whole point is doing, is moving, is acting, is taking those steps. And it's never going to be the perfect time. It's never going to be the perfect place. It's never going to be the perfect situation. So we want to get away from that idea of perfectionism and move forward, because perfectionism is a trap. Look, it sounds really good. It really does. It sounds really good. High standards and excellence and doing things the right way. Awesome. But in reality, perfectionism often shows up in those statements that stop you. Like, I need more time before I start. Have you ever said that before? Or I'm not ready yet. Or, I'll do it when I can do it right. Those are statements of perfectionism. Those are statements to say, I'll show up when I'm perfect or when it will be perfect. The problem is you'll never show up, because what happens is you wait, you delay, you overthink, and eventually you just don't move. You just don't take that first step. Because the idea of doing it perfectly, there's never a perfect, okay? There's never a right time. You're never going to feel ready. All right. You're never going to need more time before you start. That's the thing about perfectionism. Perfectionism creates pressure. All right. It creates pressure to do it right, to do it perfectly. And pressure, it creates hesitation. Well, if I don't do it right, I can't start. If I don't do it perfectly, I can't start. There's that hesitation. Okay. And that hesitation is going to lead to inaction. All right. Perfectionism leads to hesitation because it creates pressure. It creates the pressure to do it right, to do it perfectly. Well, it's never going to be perfect. And especially starting out, you will grow, you will get better, but you're never going to be perfect starting out. So what happens is perfectionism creates that pressure, which creates that hesitation, and that hesitation leads to inaction. All right. So what looks like discipline on the surface, what looks like planning on the surface, actually leads to the underlying piece of fear. Perfectionism is the outward expression of fear. We're afraid of being judged, afraid of being made fun of. So we have to do it perfectly. And we can't do it perfectly, so we hesitate. And that hesitation leads to inaction. And then we just come up with excuses. Well, I can't do it perfectly, so I'm not going to do it. I'll just wait. Because perfectionism, let's be honest, perfectionism is about doing things well. It's about avoiding something uncomfortable. All right. When we dig into perfectionism, it's not about doing it well. It's about avoiding something uncomfortable. It's about avoiding failure. We fear failure. When we want to do it perfectly, we're trying to avoid failure. Because we have such a fear of failing. We have such a fear of failing that we would rather do nothing than try something and fail. It is so obvious and so apparent across so many people. They're so afraid to fail that they prefer to do nothing than to do something and fail. So there's fear of failure. There's fear of judgment. I don't know what people are going to think about me. What are people going to think about me if I start working out? What are people going to think about me if I start eating healthy? There's that fear of judgment, fear of other people's opinions. Okay, so if I do it perfectly, then they're not going to judge me. Well, here's the deal. They're going to judge you. If people's judgment are what's going to hold you down, it's not what you're doing. It's how you're dealing with people's judgment. People are going to judge you. It's just how it works. That's how people do, particularly people who see you growing and they're not. So they're going to judge you. They're going to make fun of you. Well, that happens. It's part of the process. Every time you step up, every time you show up for yourself, people are going to judge you. You're selfish. You don't care about others. You're giving more time to yourself. Whatever the judgment is, people are going to judge you. Do it anyway. That's the thing. Perfectionism is going to keep you from wanting to face that judgment. So I'll wait till it's perfect, then I'll do it, then they won't judge me. Yes, they will. Regardless of how perfect you do it, yes, they'll judge you. And there's fear of not being good enough. You know, the perfection trap, you know, it's trying to avoid that uncomfort of not being good enough. Well, you know what? You're never good enough at something when you start. You're good. You might, you know, you can do the planning and you're thinking, but you get good enough by doing it. By keep doing it, by showing up over and over again. That's where you learn. That's where you grow. That's where you fail. That's where you get the data. Okay. But you're never going to be good enough to start. You're just going to start. You have to start. That's the thing. So instead of risking imperfect action, which may lead to failure, it may lead to judgment, it may lead to a realization that you're not good enough. You choose a safe action. You choose a safe route of inaction. Okay. Rather than risking imperfect action, the choice is inaction. Perfectionism leads to inaction. It leads to paralysis, perfection paralysis. Because if you don't try, you can't fail. Isn't that fun? If you don't try, you can't fail. And there's a cost to that. Because every time you avoid action in the name of perfection, you reinforce the belief that you're not ready. Every time that you avoid action in the name of perfection, you reinforce the belief that you're not ready. And over time, that becomes your identity. Your identity becomes, I'm not ready. I'll never be ready. I have to wait till I'm ready. Every time that you choose inaction in the name of perfection, you reinforce the belief that you're not ready. And over time, that becomes your identity. That becomes the identity you dwell in. And here's the thing. If this has been you for a long time, you've created that identity. That identity is there. If this has been you for a long time, then it's already embedded in you. That's your identity. I'm never going to be ready. I'm never going to be good enough. I'm always going to be judged. I'm too afraid to try. That's your identity. That's what perfectionism leads to. But here's the thing. We want to break that. We want to break that idea because you don't have to be perfect to try. You don't have to be perfect to begin. Progress creates results. Perfectionism delays them. All right, see how that works? So progress creates results. So the only way you're going to get progress is to move, is to act. Even if you don't feel ready, even if you're afraid, even if you don't feel that you're good enough, even if other people are judging you. If you want to grow, if you want to be better, if you want to show up for yourself, then you need to act. Action creates progress. Progress creates results. Perfection delays them. Because you're not going to get results because you're not going to move. I'm not going to move until I'm perfect. Well, you're never going to be perfect, so you're never going to move. You don't need perfect execution, my friends. You need consistent movement. See how that works? Consistent movement. You learn as you go. All right. You don't want to start when you're perfect. You learn to get better. You want consistent movement because movement is progress. Progress builds momentum. Remember, we've talked a lot about this. Progress creates learning. It shows you what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know until you figure out you don't know it. And the only way you don't know it is and figure that out is by moving, by trying. You develop the skills that you need. You develop the skills that you need in order to be better. That's the whole idea. Progress creates this result. The result shows you the skills that you need to develop. This is a growing process. This isn't something that you finish when you start. It's a growing process. You're a growing process. You don't know what you need until you figure that out. And the only way you're going to figure that out is to try, is to move, to get away from that perfectionism. and get into the progress. All right. It strengthens confidence. When you move, it strengthens confidence. Consistent movement strengthens confidence. Look what I've done. Even if it's small, I can do it. Even if it's not perfect, I can still do it. Even if it's not perfect, I can still do it. We're never in a perfect place. We're never going to learn perfect. We develop those skills. All right. We develop those skills over time. Movement, consistent movement creates confidence. It builds confidence. It shows you where you need to develop your skills. That's what movement does. And you can't move if you're waiting to be perfect. Perfection doesn't do those things. Perfection doesn't build momentum. It doesn't create learning. It doesn't develop skills. It doesn't strengthen confidence. It keeps you stuck in the planning, thinking, and waiting mode. It keeps you stuck in the I'm waiting, I'm planning, I'm thinking. And the only way out of that cycle is to act before you feel ready. The only way out of that cycle is to act before you feel ready. You're never going to be ready. That feeling of not being ready will always be there. Act before you feel ready. Act before it's perfect. Learn as you act. That's the hustle. That's the way it works. And if you want to move out of that perfectionism, then you need to act. You need to take the first step. Even if it's imperfect, even if you don't know all the steps ahead of you, take the one and then learn and then take the next one. So how do we apply this? Where do we put it into our lives? We see it. How do we apply it? So we've talked about this before. We talked about lowering the bar before. Lower the standard. Okay. Lower the standard, but be consistent. It's not about lowering your potential. It's about lowering the barrier to action. Ask yourself, what would this look like at 70%? Okay, if I want to start a workout routine, all right, but I'm not 100%. It's not going to be 100%, so I'm not going to start until it's 100%. What would it look at 70%? Then do that. Because 70% done consistently is better than 100% that's never started. Do you hear that? 70% done consistently is better than 100% never started. Now, that doesn't mean you'll stay at 70%, but starting at 70% is okay. So lower the standard, but stay consistent. If you can only give 70% of something, then give 70% of something. Don't wait till you can give 100% because you'll never be able to. It won't be there. And if it does ever reach that moment, my friends, it will only reach that moment for a moment, and then it'll wane. 70%, good enough. Start there. Lower the standard, but stay consistent. Do something that you can do well at 70% consistently, and you will build and you will grow. Another thing to do is share before feeling ready, okay? Perfectionism thrives in isolation, all right? When we don't talk about our goals, when we don't talk about who we want to, when we just sit there and think, you keep things to yourself until they're perfect. I'm going to work out when it's perfect, and I'm going to tell the world. No, share the idea. Share the progress, share the work, even if it's not yet finished, okay? When we share our ideas, when we start sharing that action, it builds confidence. All right. People will help us. People may give us some ideas. I was there and it took me time, but I got better. Or I was there and these are the things that I did. I didn't think about that. Share those ideas. Now I wouldn't recommend putting it out on for everybody because you're going to have a lot of haters and a lot of judgers. Maybe with a friend or a spouse or a mentor or a coach. Share your ideas. Don't keep them to yourself because perfectionism breeds in isolation. You're going to have people tell you, you know what? That sounds good enough. I would start and learn. But when we keep our ideas to ourselves, then we want them to be perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Another thing we want to do is reframe our mistakes. Okay? We want to see our mistakes as data and not failure. Most people see mistakes as failure. All right? They see, I tried this, I failed, it was a mistake, I failed, I'm not going to do it again. No, we want to see them as feedback. We want to see our mistakes as feedback. Every mistake tells you what works, what doesn't, what needs adjustment. That's how growth happens. Do we want to work to lessen our mistakes? Of course we do. That's the whole process. That's where we develop skills and create knowledge. All right. That's how we create the process. But we don't want to see mistakes as failures. Mistakes are data. We learn from them. When we can learn from our mistakes, then we don't go down that same road again. When we can learn from what we've done before, then we don't go down that same road again. So reframe mistakes. See them as data and not failure. All right. And set completion goals. Instead of focusing on how well something is done, focus on finishing it. All right. Rather than looking at how well something is done, finish it. Look at how you finish it. Set completion goals. Did I complete it? Was it finished? Did I do it? Did I say what I was going to do? Not was it perfect? Probably wasn't perfect, but I completed it. I did it. Did I show up at the gym today? Yeah, I did. Was it 100% perfect? No, but I showed up today. Did I show up for my kids today? Yeah, I did. Was it 100% perfect? No, but I showed up for my kids or my spouse or my work. All right? So set completion goals. Set goals of showing up, even if it's not perfect. Set goals of showing up for yourself, even if it's not perfect. I set a goal of 10 minutes a day where I'm giving to me and I'm sitting in silence. Well, you know what? I only showed up for 6 minutes today. Well, I completed it. I didn't do it all, but I completed it. All right. Or I was sitting for 10 minutes, but 2 minutes in the middle of that, I had to answer a call. I completed it. Set completion goals. Don't look at how it's done, but look at whether you did it, because completion creates momentum. All right. It creates the momentum you need to keep doing it. So here's a shift I want you to make. Instead of saying, I need to get this right, start saying, I need to keep moving. I need to keep moving, even if I didn't get it all right. Successful people are not the ones who do everything perfectly. They're the ones who keep going. They adjust, they learn, and they improve. But most importantly, they act. It's about acting. It's about movement. It's about investment. It's never going to be perfect, my friends. It's never going to be the perfect moment. You're not going to feel perfectly ready. Act anyway. Move anyway. Okay? The way we undo perfectionism is by acting, even when we're not ready. We can do the homework. We can do the investigation. We can create the possibilities, but we need to act, move, create, act, try, make mistakes, learn from them, try again, make mistakes, learn from them, try again. This is a process. Perfectionism will stop that process. You will always wait. You'll always hesitate when you want to do it perfectly. So here's one thing I'd encourage you. You know what? Find one thing you can do imperfectly. Don't overthink it. Don't refine it endlessly. Just finish it. Finish it and move on. Because done is what creates progress. And that's what we want. We want to move. We want to create progress. We want to show up for ourselves. Are we going to show up for ourselves perfectly all the time? Nope. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. And we shouldn't show up for ourselves at all. If we can't get 10 minutes of rest, but we can get 2 minutes, then show up for yourself. If we can't get an hour of meditation, but we can get 15 minutes, show up for yourself. If we can't spend 2 hours making a gourmet meal, but we got 30 minutes to make something fresh and healthy, show up for yourself. Even if it's not perfect, show up for yourself. Show up for yourself and act and learn and grow from it. That's how we continue to build progress, because perfection will keep you stuck. Progress will move you forward, and showing up, even imperfectly, is what builds the life you're working towards. That's what we're looking for. That's why we bring this up. So keep showing up, even if it's imperfect. That's what I got for you for today, my friends. I hope it's helpful. If it is, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. If you follow me or the podcasting or the life coaching on any one of them, you'll see the feeds. If you're on listening platforms, follow us, give us a rating and review. And as always, if you want to reach out to me directly, GraceLifeCoaching.com is a website. I would love to hear from you. At Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you.